First of all, I'd like to welcome everyone. I'm looking around the room because I suspect there may be some faces here I know. And if there is anyone here who knows me, feel free to come and say hi afterwards. As kindly introduced, my name is Suzanne Donnelly. I'm the Medical School's Associate Dean and the Programme Director for the Medicine Programmes. And I'm also, in the other half of my life, I'm a consultant rheumatologist in the Mater Hospital where I practice. So it's a great pleasure to welcome you here and thank you for your interest in our programmes. I'm always delighted to talk about medicine, and they've given me lots of time to do so, even allowing for potential hiccups. But what I really want to do is speak to two big questions. If it will let me advance the slides, there we go. So really, I think for anybody in their leaving cert year, anybody trying to make decisions, I think there's two big questions. And the first question is, why would you choose medicine? And then the second question is, if you do choose medicine, why would you want to come and join us? And I'm hoping over the course of the next 40 minutes or so that I'll give you some clarity on both of those. And I'll also leave a little bit of time at the end so that you can ask me some questions. With respect to medicine, I'm biased, all right? So I've been working as a doctor and I've been working in medical education for decades. I won't tell you how many, but for decades. And as someone who practices with patients and who's fortunate enough to get to work with very bright young people as students, my job, my daily job and what I get up every morning to do is probably one of the nicest jobs that you get to do. For those of you who are young and really haven't thought much about careers and you haven't thought about the realities of work, it is important to say that medicine as a career is tough, all right? It does require dedication, it requires hard work, it requires commitment, it requires sometimes some sacrifices and definitely a bit of flexibility. But the rewards of a career in medicine are absolutely huge, all right? There is literally never a dull day. And medicine, as we practice it now, is very much a team sport. So it involves the whole healthcare team. And as a doctor, you are a member of the whole healthcare team. Many of you might be, the pandemic certainly brought some medical doctors to the fore. Actually, there were days when I couldn't turn on the TV or the radio without hearing somebody whose voice I knew from work or someone who I'd trained with somewhere along the way. But in the usual realms and in our normal daily work, most of you may know doctors really only through perhaps having gone to a doctor. And some of you might be inspired by your family doctors or by someone who looked after you when you were younger. I know some students who want to come to us and that have family members who aren't well and, who've needed healthcare over the years. And that's another really nice reason that we hear people say, look, I really want to, I was kind of inspired by what they did and I want to do what they do. And what I would say to you is that the thing about being a doctor is it's not just a job. Okay, so you can't kind of do it and forget about it. You don't sort of turn into a doctor at 8 o'clock in the morning and turn out of a doctor at 6. Medicine becomes almost a way of life. But what I think is really important is that if you have kind of core values that you want to be involved in something that feels fulfilling, you want to be involved in something where you really can make a difference, you just genuinely make a difference to people's lives. The fact that you're their doctor can make a difference to their lives. And if you're not afraid of hard work, and if you're, as I say, prepared to be flexible and you're ambitious, really medicine can offer the absolutely most wonderful career. So some of you tell us that you're inspired by our UCD medicine students, and I'm not surprised. I'm inspired by them myself. They are wonderful. And you'll see them out. This is from a couple of years ago now. These are the photographs of them out on their charity day where they kind of chug for various charities around town. Some of you might know some of our medical students. Some of you might have brothers and sisters, cousins, whatever, who are medical students. But I also want to say to anybody who doesn't know anybody in UCD medicine, it's really important that you also know that you're very welcome and that you don't need to know anybody in UCD medicine. When I did medicine, I didn't know anybody. I came, as some of you might hear, from the north, didn't know anybody, didn't know anyone in medicine, and came here without any background. And as I say, have had a wonderful time and have carved a wonderful career. So again, from my perspective, what I would say to you is, because if you decide that you want to do medicine, what you're doing is you're going to be setting the stakes very high for yourselves. And as a mum of a recent Leaving Cert student, I know what's involved, and it's tough going. And if you do, then, I think it's really helpful for you to have a look at some of the sources of information that are out there. This is completely UCD ad-free. These are sources of information that are available to everyone. And this is, in fact, from the Medical Council, and the Medical Council is our regulator. The Medical Council is the body that regulates our profession. And on their website, I'll put up, just if anybody wants these websites, I have a list of all of them on the very last slide. If you just want to take a picture of all of them at the very end, you can do that. So the Medical Council regulates us, and it also gives guidance for students. Okay, so it gives guidance for students and for people who think they might want to get involved in medicine. And you can go in there and you can click on the tabs and you can root around. What comes as a surprise sometimes to students, and I think it's really important that you know this, is that you do a degree, but then you're not like finished, okay? You do a degree and then you have to train to be an independent doctor. And I think that's something, again, that is important just to grasp at the start. Because if you're the sort of person that can't wait to shut the books and forget about studying forever, medicine is not going to feel like fun for you. Again, just briefly, because I get a little bit upset nearly every year when I find out that people who really want to do medicine and who studied really hard have just in some way misunderstood the landscape. So I think it's no harm just to talk about how you can get more information. Any of you who are interested and who haven't gone on the CAO website yet, go on the CAO website and look at their guide, okay? Again, this website is on the very last slide, but there's really good information in here. And in all the kind of, you have to register, and you have to register for the HPAT and meet the deadlines. But in all of that, have a look and see what the requirements are. And I'm going to show you some of ours, but I do appreciate, nobody's just going to apply to one medical school. You need to have a look around and also see what the requirements are for the other medical schools that you might apply to. This is information published by CAO. And again, I get slightly upset when I realize people don't realize this is out there, okay? When you're making your decisions, you've got all of this information to help you. You have no control over what comes up in your papers. You have some control over how you do. There's large elements of luck involved in the Leaving Cert as well. But what you do know is the information that's available to you here. So the first thing for us, all right, so for UCD medicine, and I've only pulled out our info, but for UCD medicine, these are our minimum requirements. Okay, this is what you need. So for example, if you look at this, you can see that our subject requirements do require one of the science subjects. Okay, so just important to know that. Okay. Again, I've met people late down the line go, I didn't realize I needed this. So the information is there. So you need to the candidates, the Leaving Cert students, just make sure you pay attention to these things and what you need, because otherwise you waste a choice. And there may be other universities where there are different requirements. Again, if you look at the important dates, I just put those up there, but they're also in this downloadable document. And it's just a reminder of when those dates are, when the closing dates for your HPAT applications, etc. are. I'm assuming there's nobody here that doesn't know you have to do the HPAT to apply for medicine. I kind of assume everybody knows that, but I will just mention the HPAT and scores and how that works. This is, again, information published by CAO, and this is a little bit distracting, but I'm going to take you through it. But it's basically a table of how they work out the points for medicine. So if you look at lots of the high points courses in non-medicine disciplines, if you get 550, 540, 550 points and above, there's loads of courses that you can get into. Those are wonderful Leaving Cert scores. But then you look at medicine and there's 7s, 731, 733. So the reason for that is because you've got your Leaving Cert score plus the HPAT score, and they are combined in such a way as to give you a total score. So what I've put on this is, if you look just at the bottom table, you can see that for last year, our minimum minimum points for us, DN400, was 735. Okay, so that was the minimum. And you'll see the asterisk means that not everybody who got 735 actually got a place here. So technically, if you've 736, you're getting in 735. You've got a few weeks of worry, and you might be lucky or unlucky. But what I've done is I've just put in a little step ladder. And the step ladder basically shows you, if you look at your Leaving Cert score and what you might think you might want, what you might get, if you go over from that, so if you think, I've worked it all out, I've had a pretty good chance of getting 540. This tells you that for UCD medicine, if you go all the way across, 730 won't get you in, 740 will get you in. And that means you need a HPAT score of at least 200. Okay, so that's how you read that. And you can go back and look at it yourselves, but it's just important to get the implications of what that means. There are lots of opinions around the country about the HPAT, but the one thing that it does do is it means that this cutoff line here is at 540, and that was the lowest pure Leaving Cert points that got in last year to medicine. Okay, so what that tells you is you don't have to get 625 to do medicine, which is how it was in the olden days. Okay, so you can get in without a perfect Leaving Cert performance, but you have to add your HPAT component. So whether or not you like HPAT, whether or not you think it's a good idea, it does mean you're not under this awful pressure for the 4 weeks of the Leaving Cert. You've got other ways of getting your points. Okay, so I'll move on from that, but as I say, these are all of those figures are out there. You can look at all the other medical schools and see what their minimum points were and what combinations you would need, but that gives you an idea of the performance needed. And again, these are just cut and pasted from the HPAT website, but those are the important dates. As you can see, 19th of January 2024 is the last date for registration. Okay. In terms then of UCD information, and again, sometimes we get communications around about the times the results come out, people don't kind of have things clear. Again, I'd really urge you just to go to the UCD website and sometimes we realize after the fact that just people don't know that this stuff is out there. So the UCD website will offer all of the most up-to-date stuff. Okay, so it'll tell you what the requirements are for everything, and you just need to go in and read the small print. A very special word, as I say, for those who are here or who might be watching later, who are what I'd call trailblazers. So these are folks who don't have a family history of medicine and who maybe don't have a family history of UCD, don't even have a family history of college. We're very committed here to what we call widening participation in medicine. In other words, making sure that it's not just the most, what you might call the most privileged who come into medicine. And so anyone who will be applying through a HERE route or through a DARE route needs to go in as well and have a look at, just go in and have a look at the requirements, okay? But what I'm going to tell you is we ring fence a significant proportion of our places for HERE and DARE applications, which means that we expect to take in quite a number of students once they reach the bar. And we're really committed to that. And we have lots of things in place to support our students who come in through those routes. So I would really encourage anyone who kind of thinks, well, I don't know anybody and maybe medicine isn't for me. There has to be a first doctor in every family, okay? So have a go. If you're interested, look at the schemes. And again, you need to get your information in. If you go to the UCD website, there's a little webinar there, which I think has just been recently updated, and it will give you all the information that you need. But do pay attention to it, okay? Again, those are the minimums. And just to say for medicine, I'm going to just flag this because last year our minimum HPAT score was 150. That may be revised for the current year. I can't technically comment because I don't know, but just be aware that there are minimum scores for these access routes. Okay, all right. That's the general, okay? So that's the general information for anybody who doesn't have access to it or maybe isn't familiar with it. And I am happy to take kind of general questions if there are any. Now I'm going to tell you why you should apply to us. All right. And when I say you should apply to us, I'm very genuine about the fact that if I were you, I would apply to us. And I hope by the end of this, you'll all want to come join us. So we've got 3 big reasons. Okay. We have great people to teach you. We have wonderful places. You're in one of them. Wonderful places that we teach in. We've wonderful modern facilities here. I don't know, it's not the night for a stroll around campus, but anybody who's not familiar with campus, the facilities for students are just phenomenal. They really are wonderful. And they're not just the academic facilities. Those are important, but there's wonderful facilities for sports, there's wonderful facilities for drama, because your medical education and your education to become a doctor also, you know, isn't just about sitting at home and reading books or sitting in a library and reading books. It's really important if you're going to be a doctor that you also develop outside interests, probably really good for your mental health if you're going to work in a really busy, often stressful job. And also that you engage with friends, you make friends, and you have a really good experience in university. It can't and shouldn't just all be about academics and exams. And then the third reason is our programs. And there's a few reasons why our programs are really excellent. Our medicine program, for a start, is 6 years, okay? And I think it's probably not too controversial to say that maybe if we were all in a position where we were paying full fees for 6 years, we might think twice about it. But in fact, because we live in a country where third level fees are broadly speaking paid for, largely paid for by the government, it does mean that you can have a really superb experience, and that your first year in medicine isn't, I won't say overly, it's not overly arduous. You know, there's lots of time for you to do other things. And I think that's something that's important to us. Medicine does start to get quite difficult and quite busy very quickly after that. But first year, and I teach first years myself, first year tends to be a year where you can really settle in and get used to university, explore the facilities. It's also a very good year for those who maybe haven't done sciences to Leaving Cert. We cover physics and chemistry in addition to basic genetics, some molecular medicine and sort of very basic stuff. And that's really, I think, very useful for anyone who hasn't done those subjects. Now, for anyone who has done those subjects, makes the year even easier, but I'm not technically allowed to say that, so I won't. But it certainly is an advantage if you come in with those subjects. It makes first year really probably even more enjoyable. A little bit about our people. So the first thing is there are loads of us, okay? There are loads of us. We have huge faculty. There's no, I don't know if you can see that, just try and get that up, but we have huge faculty. And our faculty is not just here in Belfield. There's a core of us here in Belfield, and I include myself in that, even though I'm a consultant in the matter. But our faculty extends out to all of our clinical sites, where we have trainee doctors, we have special lecturers, and we have consultants, all of whom are part of that big, wide UCD medicine family. So there's lots of us. We're also blessed in that we are a really research active university. So we have a big research body. So for those of you who not only want to be doctors, but who want to find a cure for cancer, we have huge opportunities as well to work with leading researchers in medicine. We also have wonderful technical, administrative and professional staff here who support all of our programs and make everything flow and happen for our students. So there are lots of us, and they are really excellent people. That's them generally being excellent. So these are just some shots from some recent School of Medicine events. That's our dean up front leading the procession. You might recognize the much smaller person at the very back of the procession. And just a few snapshots of some of the types of activities and events that our students do while they're here with us. We have literally international medical education award winners and we have university level award winners. We have an embarrassment of riches when it comes to winning teaching awards here in the School of Medicine. We've really committed excellent educators, and by educators I mean generally the people who'll be giving your lectures, and also the people who'll be teaching you over on the clinical sites and in the hospitals. As I said, we are an academic, really academically active, research active school. We played a huge role around about the time of COVID, and we have lots of literally world leaders in various domains who are publishing in the best journals, flying around the world giving lectures in other countries. So we are also blessed with very significant academic medical research talent. And again, because I think the photographs probably convey more than I ever could. These are, again, some of the shots of our students. These are, again, I should say, no students harmed in the taking of the photographs, and they've all given consent. But these are students in various settings over the last few years. In the middle here, we have, this is our pathology lab. And then as you come down, this is our student research evening. So our students do research, they present their projects, they're adjudicated, the best ones go through to a grand final. And we have a medal winner every year. Again, this is from that. This is from our white coat ceremony, which I'll speak a little bit about in a minute. And this, if you can see, this is the surgical skills lab. So you might see these two young medical students practicing suturing skills in our surgical skills lab. And that's, again, that's a really special place because that's the old theatre complex in the Mater Hospital. So when the Mater Hospital built its bright, shiny new wing, for anybody who drives past it and knows it, the Sisters of Charity very kindly gave UCD Medical School the old facilities to develop as education facilities. So you get to learn your basic surgical skills in a real operating theatre that was operational really until about 10 years ago. These guys down the bottom right, as you look at them, have just graduated, if that needs any explanation. Again, from the student perspective, and you're going to hear from one of our students, so I'm not going to say very much. I have to be very careful when there's students here because I don't lurk around on the MedSoc website, but they do wonderful things actually. And I think if you're sitting studying your least favorite subject and you want some inspiration, probably don't look for a video of me. Go on the MedSoc website and have a look at what the medical students do when they're here, because they do absolutely wonderful things. They do charitable things, they do sociable things, they do lots of activities, and they build an amazing sense of community with one another. And I think for a big university and a relatively big school, a lot of that is led by our students themselves. There's a tremendous tradition of that. A little bit about our places, because it is important. When you're training to be a doctor, what you mightn't realize at this point is you're going to spend a couple of years, well, no, actually, you'll spend 3.5 years here. And then you'll transition to what we call immersive clinical education, and that happens in our clinical sites. So those are hospitals, general practices, and the UCD Medical School main clinical sites are two wonderful hospitals. So the Mater, where I work, and I am genuinely unbiased. It's absolutely wonderful. It's a wonderful hospital if you're a patient, and it's a wonderful hospital if you're a medical student or a junior doctor in training. And the second one then is St. Vincent's, which is just down the road here and very handy for campus. Those are our two big, we call them our motherships, and they're the two big hospitals that we do most of our general medical school training in. So that's an important consideration if you're thinking about medical school, okay? And it's not necessarily something you might think about, but here you will spend 3.5 years here, and then you'll spend about 2.5 years on our clinical sites. Belfield you know about. You've probably had a little bit of a chance to look around, but we have this is an amazing building. The library is state-of-the-art. We've got lots of study spaces. We're technologically very advanced. And I suppose what really became apparent to us during COVID is that a modern building means that you can ventilate it, make it safe, and open it. So it was a real advantage to us to have a new purpose-built facility. We do have an anatomy dissection lab here. So that is what that means is that that's human body dissection. But we also use modern methods of teaching anatomy as well. So we have lots of 3D anatomy, we have ultrasound and CT scan based anatomy. And we have nice social and common areas. Just before you arrived this evening, probably about 2 hours before you arrived, the place is thronged with students who've really, it's just dawned on them that they've got exams in a couple of weeks. So there's a general buzz around the place. In terms of clinical training then, Mater and Vincent's, Mater is at the bottom. And also we have a huge clinical training network. We have the largest clinical training network of any medical school in Ireland. So what does that mean? That means we've got the 2 big motherships, but we've also got lots of specialist hospitals. So the National Maternity Hospital, some of you may know. We have the National Orthopaedic Hospital, which is in Kappa. We have a number of national centres within our big teaching hospitals. So where I am in the Mater, we have the National Heart and Lung Transplant Centre. And in St. Vincent's, they've the National Liver Transplant Centre. And Mater has also recently become the National Trauma Centre. So these are the sorts of things you kind of need to think about. It might seem a long way away now, but when you're picking a medical school, you're not just picking a university site. You're picking programs that you think might suit you, and you're picking where you're going to be spending 2.5 years as student doctors. Despite the seriousness of being a medical student, these are our student facilities in our 2 big hospitals. You know, they're not bad, I have to say. I worked for 20 years in various hospitals where the doctors' facilities weren't at all as nice as these. So this is the student common room. This one is the student common room down in St. Vincent's. This is another one, the student common room in St. Vincent's. This is the student res room in the Mater. It has a blue ping pong table, and I think the ping pong bat might have a photograph of one of our faculty on it, so I can't zoom in. And then down here, this is the lecture theatre in the Mater. This is the wonderful surgical training sim suite. This is our professor of surgery, Professor Ronan Cahill. This is a dummy, just in case anyone is concerned. And this is really, as I say, in the old genuine theatre, this is where you learn your surgical skills and you do some of your surgical training. So we have lovely facilities. And then the last thing is our programs, okay? Because ultimately, or course, if that's an easier word for you, because ultimately that's what you're going to be doing. And I just wanted to make a couple of points because I think there are some things that are potentially important. We teach in modules, and modules are kind of defined packages of subjects. The workload for a medical student is not small, okay? The workload, including what you do yourself. So I'm not suggesting you're taught for 40 hours a week, but we do expect about a 40-hour week work, okay? Now, if you do arts, you might have 8 lectures a week, but you could end up working 36. So it's, you know, it's not as onerous as it might look, but it is, I think it's important that you know that that's a big commitment, because otherwise you're going to come in here and you've got to go, oh, this is too much. So it's busy. You have in this university what I think is an enormous benefit, which is the opportunity to do non-medicine modules. From your second trimester until you leave here to go to the hospitals, you pick 5 credits from a whole range of what's called the Horizon program. So you can do a module in archaeology, you can do a module in French, you can do a module in Chinese, you can do a module in computer studies. And I just think it's a really nice thing to be able to do when you're otherwise doing a lot of very medical and scientific focused stuff. So I think it's a real plus of the university's approach. Also important to say to you, we don't have big bang finals. And I don't know if any of you have been around older medical students, older brothers, sisters, cousins, anyone who's done these things, but final med exams can be very stressful. And we don't do that. So we have a system whereby the credits, every time you finish a module, you do the assessment of it, you get your credits and you literally bank them. So by the time you're coming up to the end of your medical degree, I'm not going to say it's impossible not to pass it, but it is, you have most of the stuff in the bank, okay? So you have 85% more or less of your degree banked by the time you come to your last few months. So that's for anybody who doesn't enjoy pressure as a motivator. I think it's a benefit of our programs. And then also just to say, we have lots of opportunities to study abroad. There's lots of electives that you can do. You'll see those on a different page. But also we've recently approved a full-term exchange with University in Paris. So for anyone who's got good French who thinks they'd like to go to Paris for a semester, we have that on offer. Not to everybody, but by competition. The structure of the program, if you're interested, is broadly starts out with very basic science, then moves into what we call biomedical science, which is anatomy, physiology, microbiology, pharmacology, those sorts of things. And then we do what we call the transition to clinical learning. And the transition to clinical learning is where we have to sort of detach you from Belfield and get you ready to go into hospitals. And that's a phase of the program that I've led for about 10, 12 years. And we teach you all that you need to know. We talk to you about the professional aspects, and we help you with, I guess, working out how you start to become a student doctor and learn from patients and all those sorts of things. And then when you've done that, you have 2 full years, 2 academic years of what we call immersive medicine. And I'll tell you what that is now. So stage 1, basic stuff. This is from my module. We do a module on doctors, patients, and healthcare, where we talk about healthcare stories in the media. We do some critical analysis. We look at the actual research behind some of them, and we rewrite some of them as they should be written for the public. So these are just some of the student projects that actually we've been assessing this week, and again tomorrow morning. The next bit, which is really 2.5 years, stage 2, stage 3.5, and stage 4, then is biomedical sciences. So that's your anatomy, physiology, microbiology, pharmacology, pathology, along with some population health and social behavioral sciences, and also some early patient contact, and what I call the patient perspective. We have a patient educator program here, so we bring patients into you before you go to them. And they come in and we work in small groups with our patient educators. So you get to kind of try out the idea of being a doctor before you, or being a student doctor before you ever go near the hospitals. And again, these are just some of the sorts of activities that go on. There is the opportunity to do student research during the summer. So there's 8-week projects that you can do. And again, you do those with some of our research leads. And you get to work in labs, or you get to work on a community health project, population health project, whatever you're interested in, if you want to do that. The transition then, as I say, is where we get you ready to move on, and that's in the 2nd trimester of stage 4, and that's followed then by the immersive bit, which is the piece that we talked about, and that's the really big, that's the kind of the medical practice stuff. So in that you do the big, what we would call the big medical specialties of medicine, surgery, psychiatry, obstetrics, pediatrics, general practice. And you do those in big 6-week blocks, okay? And you do those both in the mothership hospitals and also in the specialist hospitals. So for obstetrics and gynecology, most of our students, well, all of our students will either be in the Coombe Hospital or in the National Maternity Hospital. And again, in each of those sites, we have UCD faculty and clinical faculty. And then we have 2 modules, which is kind of nice. You come back to Belfield in the later years for the month of December every year to do 2 5-credit modules in forensic and legal medicine, and also in public health. Lots of opportunities. I won't read all these out. If you're interested, you can have a look on the website. They update them. But if you just look at all the different places you can go, these are for electives that would typically last between 4 and 6 weeks. And for quite a number of these, the school funds scholarships for students to go. So this is the sort of thing that you can do. The very last bit of what we do with you is we get you ready to be a doctor and to work. And that's the very end of our entire process. So what we do is we make sure that you've got all of the skills that you need to actually go and be a doctor on about the 11th of July 20, I can't count, you'd be coming in 20, I have to count through, so maybe about 2030 or 31, 2030, yeah. Okay. So 11th of July 2030. So we get you ready for that. And we do that again with very, it's all done over in the hospitals, and that's really your final assessment that we do. All right. But you've already, as I say, you've banked all the credits for everything else before that. Just to say, you don't get to finish there. You have to, in this country, if you want to be a fully registered medical practitioner, you have a further year to do as an intern, but that is a paid year. You're doing a job. And again, we run a UCD internship training program, which is currently, I believe, the most popular one. And you don't have to be a UCD graduate to come and intern with us. That's a different application process. But certainly it's a huge advantage if you've been a student in our hospitals, if you come back and intern there. Last piece, because it is really important. We place a lot of emphasis on supporting students. Okay, I've already said that our first year is designed to help bring the students up to speed who might have had the opportunity to do all the basic sciences. And we've deliberately designed that first stage to just allow a little bit of breathing room and settling in. There is no doubt that medicine can be a lot of work and it can be challenging. And there's also no doubt that a lot of life happens to young people. Okay. And we have wonderful student advisors here. We have a network of student advisors across the university. We have a wonderful team of student advisors here. And we have a network of peer mentors. So we have a really nice elaborate network. So all our first years coming in have a peer mentor from the year above to kind of help them settle in and show them the ropes. And the university itself has really great facilities for student health, student union societies, all those sorts of things. And we do, even because our students are going to join our profession, they're going to be our colleagues, I guess, where we like to think that we take extra care of our students. And we're, you know, we're proud of the fact that we're wedded to that, because it can be, medicine can be overwhelming and it can be difficult. But as I say, it's wonderful.
Oh, hi guys. My name is Amy. I'm a fourth year undergraduate medical student here in UCD, and I'm kind of just going to be telling you a little bit about what it's actually like to be a medical student here. I will say there's a couple of points that I probably should have kind of run through a little bit more with Susie, because I think we're hitting a few topics similarly, but I'll just skip through them for the minute. So first things first, if you want to come to UCD, please make sure you've got the right DN400. You don't want to be going to Trinity if you don't actually want to be there. So if you're anything like I was in sixth year, I think your head is probably a lot like this. Whatchamacallit, when I was in sixth year, I think that teachers probably mentioned points about 20 times a day. Honestly, felt like there was nothing else to my life bar the leaving cert, but I promise it is not all that. It does get better after college or after school. And unfortunately though, they don't make it the easiest to get here, however. So Susie has mentioned most of this beforehand, but there's just one thing I want to point out. I presume a lot of you already know what the HPAT is about, and if you're looking to do medicine, I'd probably recommend that you do start pretty soon if you haven't already. But the HPAT isn't scored like the leaving cert is. It is scored through centiles. So this means that, like, if you got the 60th centile, it means you've done better than 60% of the people sitting the exam. If you're in the 10th centile, it's better than 10% of people who sat the exam. And if you're in the 100th percentile, you're class. Well done. And the other thing is, with regards to points, if you are in the 90th percentile, that is kind of only approximating to about 180 points, even though the exam is out of 300. It's a difficult exam and people are not expected to get full marks, which is kind of, people who want to do medicine, you're looking for those really high points. So it's kind of a difficult thing to get into your mind that you're not going to get every question right. So what happens once you're here? So in UCD, it's a 6-year program, as Susie mentioned. the first 3.5 years are preclinical, and then the last 2.5 years you're clinical. So for myself, I am stage 4 and I am starting my transition to clinical, which is really exciting. And I'm looking forward to it because it's been a long time in college. So I just wanted to pop this up because I know for myself, when I was starting off, I was a little bit confused about this. So the undergraduate course, undergraduate course, which is 6 years, is, and if you're not looking to do undergraduate course, I'd probably recommend you go to the other room because that's graduate entry medicine. And yeah, so we've got 6 years. Just to note, the other course is the graduate entry medicine or GEM course, and that's a 4-year course, and that's for people who have already finished a 4-year degree. That could be in anything. A lot of people just tend to do it in science, but you could also do law, do arts, and then come in and do graduate entry medicine after. So once you start in UCD in your first year, you're stage 1, or also known as pre-med. You go through stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, which is where I said I am. And then next year, in my 5th year, I go into res year. And then once you're in res year, you actually get joined with the GEM students, and you will become one big year in res year. And then your final year, 6 years, you're in final med, and you're almost there. So your first year in UCD pre-med, it's kind of just like an overview of basic sciences. And it's really good for people who've only done one science because it's kind of just like a refresher course of the Leaving Cert. But also there are a lot of people, including myself, who did 3 sciences and also applied maths, and I still came to UCD. I won't lie, it was quite a nice year, not too taxing, but they do build on, you know, different parts of biology, chemistry, and physics. And, you know, it's also, the one thing about medicine is it's 6 years. It's a long haul here. So the sense of community that you need to build with your friends is so, so important. And I really can't stress that enough. And I think that is probably one of the benefits that UCD has in having pre-med, because it's a little bit more time for you just to get to know your year, you know, the social events. You just get to know each other quite well. And it is quite a big course with the national students and international students. There's over 200 people in the course. And a lot of other courses, say like engineering, my brother's in engineering and he doesn't know half his course, whereas that doesn't seem to be a problem in medicine. Everyone is very, very close. Granted, it is because we're in the library 24/7 with each other, but also it's because of all the events that we do together. And I really, as I said, medicine, it's not the easiest course, but like when you have the support system around you, it is genuinely, it's so helpful to have all these people who are helping you out. So as I said, the first year pre-med is like a general science kind of basis. When you come into 2nd and 3rd year, it's even anatomy and physiology modules, so you're learning how the body works. And what's really, really invaluable, in my opinion, the screen sharing, you can't see properly. Just on the bottom, so we have anatomy labs. So we're so lucky here in UCD that we have donors who have actually donated their bodies for us to learn on. And it's honestly, the first time I walked into an anatomy lab, it's a different feeling. Like it's so different. You literally have a human body in front of you, and it's just an incredible way to learn. You can't really describe the feeling. There's no other way to learn than having that resource to you. You also have small group tutorials, so that'll be tutorials of like 10 to 15 people with one tutor. So it's a great chance to just, you know, actually ask questions, because when you're in a lecture hall with like 200 people, it can be a little bit intimidating to ask questions. So that's really good. And then when you come into 3rd and 4th year, nope, sorry, not yet. 3rd and 4th year, you start to have more pathology modules. So you learn how the body goes wrong and how to treat it. So I really like the way UCD lay out their modules. I like the way that we learn that how things go right first, and then a semester or 2 later, we learn how things go wrong and then how we treat it. I know, say, in Trinity, they learn system-based, so they'll learn simultaneously the anatomy, the physiology, pathology, pharmacology of, say, the heart and how that all works. And it works for different people, so just maybe figure out if it's something that you would prefer. As I said, for me, I really like this way because it just makes sense to me, how it goes right, and then you learn how it goes wrong. And then in 5th and 6th year, you actually do the bits that you signed up for in 1st year. So we go through different rotations, as Susie mentioned, medicine, obs-gyn, peds. It's kind of, like that is what you've come to do, but it does take obviously a while for you to have the standard of education to get into the hospitals. But I'll be starting on placement after Christmas, so I'm very much looking forward to that. And the two hospitals that UCD are associated with are the Mater Hospital and Vincent's. So our year is split between those two hospitals, and then we do all our rotations in those two hospitals. And then 6 years later, you become a doctor. So just to talk a little bit more about the day-to-day kind of life of what you'll do if you are in UCD. As I said, first 3.5 years are in UCD. You've got different lectures, you've got labs, and also you've got small group tutorials. And then, obviously, as previously mentioned, the last 2.5 years you are on in hospital every day, and you'll have lectures. But if the lecture isn't, so if I'm in the Mater and there's a lecture from Vincent's that's live streamed, everyone in the Mater in my year will come to the lecture hall kind of like this, and we'll all watch it together. So I just wanted to kind of show what my timetable has been like for the last few years. So as you can see on the left here, this is my timetable in first year, and then over on the right is my timetable from this year. It's not as full on lecture wise as you might think. That being said, there is a lot of hours outside of lectures that you do have to put in yourself, but at the end of the day, it's not the worst. And if you can just see here, this purple slot that I have, this is actually my elective. And as Susie mentioned before, it's something that you can do. It can be totally external to medicine, or if you do want, you can do something medical related that you might be slightly more interested in. And just on this note, like I know, and obviously in the last like year or two, there are a lot of like TikTok influencers and everything who say that they're in the library studying 12 hours a day and they have X amount of lectures. Everyone's different. Every college is different. This is what I'm like at the moment, and you know what, I'm doing well. So one of the things that UCD does have that is unique is this elective module. So for anybody who has good eyesight, and they saw on the last slide, the elective I'm doing this semester is Irish Sign Language. So it's something totally different. Do you know what? It's actually way more taxing than I thought it would be, because I've never used that part of my brain, to be honest, in the last 4 years. But it's so good. It's so much fun. It's just something totally different. I go to it and I'm like, it's still credits towards my module, but it's a bit of fun. This list of electives are the electives that I have done over the last 3.5 years. The third one, as you can see, is trauma. So this is obviously a medically inclined elective, and but the reason I chose is because it's just something that I'm really interested in. I didn't have to do it. I could have done Spanish instead if I wanted to, but it was really good. I really recommend trauma. So yeah, these are just some of the other examples of electives you can have. I think someone had a question beforehand about the electives, and just to clarify, if you do, so say you do Spanish, I didn't do this, but you can do it. I think it'd be really cool. But once you graduate, and if you graduate from medicine, your master's will be in, sorry, not your master's, your major will be in medicine. But if you do 3 classes of Spanish over different semesters, you can actually come out with a minor in Spanish as well. So that's just something to consider. It's pretty cool, you know, especially given that medicine is such a fun degree and you can still do that. It is really, really good. And you do come out with a high level of Spanish or law or whatever interests you. And another thing, this isn't actually associated with UCD as such, but it's just something that's included in our medical degree. So you can do electives that are either during the summer between 5th and 6th year, or the Christmas break during 6th year. You can do in absolutely anything you want, to be honest. It can be something that, say, you've learned a little bit about in college and you're like, oh, I'd love to kind of expand on that, or it could be something just totally different. And you can do it in Ireland, but I have friends who've done it in like Vietnam. They've gone to Norway, they've gone to Thailand. You can go kind of wherever you like, and UCD really does, they give you funding and stuff for it, so it's really, really good. And another thing about UC is that they're part of the U21, possibly aforementioned, but it just means that UC has a lot of associations with different colleges throughout the world, and they can give you different like scholarships and opportunities to do stuff during the summer, which is a really beneficial. And with regards to research, so UC hosts, or they have a SSRA, which is a Student Summer Research Awards. So this is an opportunity for students who have done research throughout the summer to then present their work. Like it's kind of like a competition almost, and it's just, if you're really interested in research, it's a really good way of being rewarded, and there's so many opportunities around it as well. The girl in this bottom photo, she's in my year actually, and she won this year. She did really well. And some common misconceptions that I would like to address about medicine. So a lot of people think that as medical students, we study every day, we've no time to do anything else, we never go out, and it's so competitive that you're just not friends with anyone because you're just fighting against them. That is not the case. Well, it's absolutely not the case here in UCD. I play hockey for UCD, I run track, I am part of Relay for Life, which is like it's a fundraiser for the Irish Cancer Society. We hold a big event. We do loads of different things for MedSoc. I'm the secretary of the Medical Society for this year. You have so much time. Balance is key, and I will not lie to you, a lot of my days do look like this. It is a lot of work, and I'm not gonna lie about that. You really do have to put in a lot of work, but it's so worth it. I would not change it for the world. These are really, really attractive photos, I know, but I just put them in. The UC Medical Society is absolutely phenomenal. I'd be doing an injustice if I didn't mention it as well. It is something that you really should consider if you are thinking about coming to UCD. We do everything and anything. Some of the highlights would be Medball. So Medball this year was in Tullamore, it was a few weeks ago. It's a fantastic night. Everyone gets dressed up. It's kind of like a even classier Debs. You're with all the different years, and it's great fun. We have class mixers. The one thing, as I said about medicine, is that like you get to know your year so well. Like your year coming up to exams, they have seen you, and the absolute hair is so greasy. You're wearing God knows what. But even in that, you get to know so many people who are in different years, not even in your own year. And we will be working with them in hospitals. So we do make a lot of an effort to get each year to know each other. And we have loads of different events. We've got cable tie events. You're cable tied to someone in a year above or below. You can't really get rid of them. You got to talk to their friends as well. We've got, different, that was us dressing up Smurfs, Don't Ask, Mystery Tour, and Wine and Cheese Night. It's great fun. And sports. I'm going to say non-casual sports. I am specifically not going to say non-competitive because it is competitive. But it's just for people, it's for everybody. It doesn't matter. I'm playing the med soccer at the moment. My team is top of the league at the moment. We're going got to buy into the semis. It's so much fun. You're playing with random people in your year. You're playing against random people in different years. And it's just a really good way to, even if you don't actually want to play, say, soccer for UCD, play for medicine, because everyone's like, medicine's a cult anyway, so you may as well do it. We have Med Cup, which is in the second semester. Sorry, I'm really struggling with the mouse today. In the second semester, we also have tag rugby. We have intervarsity games, so we'll play what did we do last year? It was like hockey, basketball, netball, tag rugby, I think, against like Trinity, against UCC, against UL. It's so much fun. Again, there's not many other courses that actually do associate with all the different colleges. So it's really, really good fun. We have a ski trip every year to different places. Last year we went with the vets, so that was good crack. And charity. Sorry, can I get rid of this now? Nope, apparently not. So every year we choose a charity and we have Med Week. So This year we are raising money for Dogs for the Disabled. We raised over €30,000 over the week, and it's one of the highest that UC Medsoc have ever raised, so it was really nice as well, a bit of a bonus. And you have different events throughout the week, and then on the Friday, everybody goes out bucket collecting on the streets of Dublin from 7 a.m. to like 3 p.m. You are absolutely delirious by the end of the day. The shame is gone asking people for money, but it's very, very good fun. And you're also with random people from different years, so you're getting to know them again. 7 a.m. you just have to get to know them as well as you can. And then every semester actually we have class trips. So these are usually organised by your class reps. The first semester is generally like Irish trips. So this year, my year went to Lahinch, and then in the second semester, it's often an abroad trip. So we are going to Barcelona in April, which would be really fun. And we've been to like Lisbon, Wexford, Carrick-on-Shannon. We've been to Berlin. Yeah, it's good fun. And genuinely, when I say UCD has a society for everything, and if it doesn't, you can honestly just set one up yourself. There's so many like interest groups. I would actually be surprised if you can find anything that they don't have at the moment. On our campus as well, it is a really, really good campus. The health science library is lovely. It would want to be, because we medical students are there quite a lot. James Joyce has also got a lovely new third floor. I don't know if anyone's seen it online. It's got fantastic plants. It smells nice. You feel great, kind of, for most of the time. And then we also, the sports facilities are so good. There's a new track. As I said, I run not very well at the moment, but the track is literally 30 seconds away. I can be there, do my session, I'm back in an hour. And fun fact, we have the most lakes. We're the college with the most lakes in Ireland, just in case that was a pivotal factor about you choosing UCD. And yeah, sports clubs, as I said, you name it, they have it. There is genuinely something for everyone. And the other thing is, you don't have to be good at the sport to do it. Half the girls started rock climbing this year. Controversial, a lot of bruises, but it's good fun. And yeah, so just a few unique things about UCD. First of all, with regards to our the structure of UC Medicine, I think Susie did say this, we do 6-week blocks. Okay, not a lot of other colleges do this. And then you follow that block by an exam, and then once that exam's finished, you are done. So you don't have really high stake exams, which can put you under so much pressure, kind of like the Leaving Cert, but don't worry about it, it'll be so fun. And yeah, that's just like one thing. That was actually one of the reasons that I kind of considered UCD over. We also have the elective modules, which isn't a thing that a lot of other colleges have. It is really nice just to do something that is just stress relief. You know, sign language is so much fun. And yeah, we've so many facilities, so many societies, so many sports clubs. And yeah, I suppose if you do UC is affiliated with the Mater and Vincent's, something to think about for accommodation. It's not really a problem for you for another 5 years. But if you do have like a really big interest in, say, like liver transplants, Vincent's is the National Centre for Liver Transplants in Ireland. So it's just something to think about. And yeah, a few just tips for getting here, because I think it's something that a lot of 5th and 6th year students think about. Your HPAT's obviously in February, and that's when a lot of people's mocks are. You need to prioritise the HPAT over your mocks. Most of you, if you're looking to do medicine, you've been working hard through 5th year and 6th year, so you'll be able to kind of just put the mocks to the side a little bit, get that HPAT down, and then you have another like 3 months to focus on the Leaving Cert. At the end of the day, though, your Leaving Cert is the most important thing. Okay, you can carry your Leaving Cert points for a few years, whereas the HPAT you'll have to repeat. So say you get 601 in the Leaving Cert, but you don't get the HPAT. You can carry that Leaving Cert, and you just have to repeat the HPAT. However, if you don't do well in the Leaving Cert, you're going to have to repeat the HPAT and your Leaving Cert, which is just a lot more stress. There's also so many routes into medicine. As I mentioned, you can do another degree, be it science, be it geography, be it law, whatever you like, and then you can go through our graduate entry medicine program, or you can just keep doing the HPAT. The one thing I would say, you have to want to do medicine, okay? I am obsessed with this course. I love it. I love UCD, and I wouldn't change it for the world, but you have to have that like real deep desire to want to do medicine, because it is a very, very long path. And it's also, you do have to put in a lot of hours. It's a lot of work, but if you do want it, absolutely never give up. There's nothing else that I can see myself doing, and I would have repeated 10 times over to do it. Not that I'm advocating you for do this, but like, you can do it in other countries. If you really want medicine, do not give up. Don't just settle for something else, but don't just do it because your friends are doing it, or because your parents are doctors, or because, you know, you can get the high points, because it's not worth it if you don't want to do it.